We have already lost everything. Kenyans have suffered and they continue to suffer. Kenyans have died and they continue to die. Therefore, as a union, we are not going to spare any specific individual we believe and we know that is behind the stalemate. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, my official statement is not yet ready, it's still being worked on, but I will be referring to this interim statement so that I give the position on the ongoing nurses strike. So I'll be reading, and some things I will not be reading because it's not yet ready. I'll send to you the official statements in all the media houses after the press conference, after maybe in the period of 1 hour. This one is just interim. It's not yet ready. The recent pronouncement by the chairman of Council of Governors, Honorable Nanok, governor for Turkana County, also supported by the pronouncement by SRC Chair Sarah Serem. I'm saying SRC Chair. I'm not saying Salaries and Remuneration Commission. I'm saying SRC Chair Sarah Serem. I am not saying Council of Governors. I'm saying Honorable Nanok. Honorable Ongwae, Governor for Kisii. I am not saying COG. I'm saying Honorable Ongwae. Honorable Ranguma, His Excellency, Governor for Kisumu. I am not saying COG. I'm saying Honorable Ranguma. Jacqueline Mogeni. I am not saying COG Secretariat. I'm saying Jacqueline Mogeni. Continued falsifying and giving erroneous information to the public that the collective bargaining agreement by nurses was still under negotiation is hereby termed as irresponsible, untenable, and very, very timid from people who are supposed to be public servants, who are supposed to give proper information to members of the public and update the nation accordingly. I want to say that the collective bargaining agreement under dispute was sufficiently and efficiently negotiated and completed on 29th March 2017. The process of negotiating the CBA is the same process that preceded negotiating of the recognition agreement. So you cannot say the process that was used to negotiate the recognition agreement and ultimately the recognition agreement was signed by 45 count governments is not binding, while the recognition agreement is binding. That the Kenya National Union of Nurses, as you are aware, went on strike in December and agreed with the two levels of government, the national government and the county government. And the national government was represented by none other than the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Cleopa Mahilu himself. He is the one who signed a return to work agreement, where we agreed that nurses from job group G up to L, they were to get a nursing service allowance of 20,000. Nurses from job group M and above were to get a nursing service allowance of 15,000. I can confirm to the public, to the world, that that return to work agreement that was entered was blatantly violated by the two levels of government. This allowance was only paid in the month of January. And from the month of February, this allowance was withdrawn without any reference to the union. Our communication to the government to have this allowance reinstated has not received any positive response from two levels of government. Therefore, that agreement has been violated by the two levels of government. We also agreed in that return to work agreement that nurses CBA for the collective bargaining agreement was to be negotiated, signed, and registered in court on or before 2nd of March 2017. Today is June 15th, 2017. It was to be done within 60 days. Right now we are talking 6 months later. The CBA has been concluded and it has not been signed. It is important for the public and the government functionaries to know that the statement about signing the collective bargaining agreement is not being caused by the Council of Governors. It is not being caused by SRC, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. It is not being caused by the Public Service Commission, which is the ultimate employer of all workers within the national government structure. Our position as a union, through our investigations and through the engagement we have had, we are now going to tell the world and the Kenyan people why nurses are on strike. Who has caused this strike? We are also going to say who is responsible for ending this strike. Last year, when the National Governing Council met at Tomboy Leper College, they made some decisions. But before that, when we were negotiating the recognition agreement, we had concluded negotiation of the recognition agreement. It was ready for signing in the Council of Governors headquarters. One, Jacqueline Mogeni, whose husband is running for the senatorial seat in Nyamira. I hope you will not ask me, I'm also running. Whose husband is running for Nyamira senatorial seat, told us that we must include county pension fund, which is a private pension scheme operated by corrupt cartels within the national government. Which, not within the national government, within the COG, county pension scheme. She said, if we don't allow county pension scheme to be included in the recognition agreement, that recognition agreement was not going to be signed. Honestly, that recognition agreement was never signed. We went on strike, and that is why the recognition agreement was signed, because we went on strike. It is now important for us to ask ourselves questions. Why should Jacqueline Mogeni, a public officer, say that unless county pension fund is part of the recognition agreement, it shall never be signed? We went on strike, Kenyans died, Kenyans suffered, because Jacqueline Mogeni will never allow the recognition agreement to be signed unless County Pension Fund, which is a private company owned by Jose Akili and his cartels, some of them are working even in NHIF, will not allow nurses have that recognition agreement unless CPF is put in the recognition agreement, which is a private firm, private company registered under Companies Act. So who is this person that is fueling Jacqueline Mogeni? From that time Jacqueline Mogeni made that pronouncement, she disappeared from our negotiation. She never showed up again. Jacqueline Mogeni has shown up when the CBA has been concluded. And what does she say? She says now the people who are responsible for signing the CBA are CEC for Health. When we all know that the County Government Act 2012 persons the powers of signing CBAs to the county public service boards. So Jacqueline Mogeni was bringing a dispute between the county public service boards and the CEC for Health across the country. She achieved by ensuring that there is now a serious conflict between those two organs. Let me tell you, that is where the problem is. I sent her a message, I think on 30th. I told her, it appears you are frustrating everybody. You are frustrating everybody. You want the CBA to be signed, you want nurses to go on strike. 2 days later, she released a letter to SRC. Jacqueline Mogeni is under the payroll of Jose Akili, who is the group managing director of the many companies he has established. Those companies, the only client they have is Lab Trust. Lab Trust, which is a pension scheme for public servants within county governments. He is fronting a bill he wrote in the toilet himself, saying that CPF must be part and parcel of the county pension scheme so that it becomes an automatic administrator, giving himself up to 5% of the total assets of Lab Trust, which will give Jose Akili and his cartels not below 5 billion. That is why the CPA for the nurses cannot be signed. Today, Lab Trust is collapsing. There are so many senators, aspirant senators, sitting senators, who have been funded by CPF, so that when they go to the Senate, they go and assist Jose Akili to pass that County Pension Scheme, County Pension Scheme Act 2016, which he wrote alone in his toilet. We must now tell the world what is happening. This is why Kenyans are dying. Because Jose Akili wants to convert a public trust into a private trust. He has brought down Lab Trust. He has not allowed the Auditor General to audit Lab Trust, which is a public trust. When you go there, he has done all the buildings, from Lab Trust to CPF. CPF is not a public trust. CPF is a private company. Jacqueline Mogeni collecting money from CPF to support her husband to become a senator, to assist Jose Akili to get Lab Trust in his hands. It will happen over my dead body. Mutakubali hiyo? Mutakubali pesa wafanyakazi ibwe? The government has no problem signing the CBA. The problem is corruption. The problem is corruption, which is being orchestrated, directed by Jose Akili, the group managing director of many companies he has established. I'm ready to die for the workers of this nation. Because when I talk about pension scheme, I'm looking at this worker who will retire and will go to that building and will not get any money for retirement. Enough is enough. We are now telling the world the truth. I want to tell you why. And Ranguma, the two of you, you are the people behind CPF. You are the people who are pushing CPF for registration. You have had a Muscatia here saying he removed me from office for 4 days. Who is sponsoring him in that case? Jose Akili and CPF, they have filed many cases against Panyako and his leadership. They want to remove us from power so that the B can take over the union, so that they can support the county pension scheme, which is going to hand over public trust to Jose Akili and Ranguma and Ongwai. There is no fear anymore. We are ready to sit with the government anytime to discuss this issue so that we end the suffering of Kenyans. But I'm telling Jose Akili, the world should know from today that you are the owner of the ongoing strike. Jacqueline Mogeni, you are the owner of the ongoing strike. The money for the workers you are collecting to give your husband to campaign will hound you by the death and the wailing of the people of Kenya. Say yes!
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 Shenzi kabisa, shenzi! Shenzi! We will not be scared by anybody in this country anymore. Because when you touch on workers' retirement benefit, you touch on the most volatile, vulnerable point of a worker. When you have retired, you have no source of income. And you want to rob this worker so that he goes, even if people die, because the Nurses Union made a resolution last year in Tomboy Leper College to choose Lab Fund. After scrutinizing CPF and knowing that CPF was a private property, which was siphoning money from Lab Trust, which is now collapsing. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the problem. I want to tell the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Cleopa Mailu, he's continued trying to run away from the nurses' strike, purporting that the strike squarely belongs to the county governments, is actually terrible position, which is untenable in the eyes of Kenyans. We know that Mathare National Hospital is on strike, for heaven's sake. We know that Spinal Injury Hospital is on strike, for heaven's sake. Port Health, Blood Bank, even Afya House itself is on strike. Those are employees within the national government structure. And that is why Cleopa Mailu himself signed a return to work agreement. We want him not to hide in the governors. Call this union so that we have a CBS signed between the union and the national government so that we can take back Mathare nurses, spinal nurses, and others in the national government back to work. He should not tell the world that that's a function of the county government. I want to tell you, fourth schedule in the Constitution of Kenya, clause 13, states clearly that the function of labor standards is a function of the national government.